Hello everyone. My name is Modula Matapelo, and I am the host of the Kindness Circle podcast. If you are watching this video right now, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am so glad that you are here. Thank you so much for joining me. So, we are going to learn, explore, encourage, and also inspire one another. So, before we talk about what we are on about today, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's free, you don't pay anything. You literally just click on subscribe and that's it. And please also, if you are watching this video, please like the video and also remember to leave a comment. You can show some support, you can show some love on the comment section. And also, if you'd like to leave a comment about the topic that we are going to talk about today, please do so. I'd really appreciate that, and that will really help us to continue engage with one another and also learn from one another. So on the let me just So, on the 3 previous episodes that were already uploaded, on the first episode, I spoke about the benefits of extending goodness to others, and I also talked about the ripple effect of kindness. The effect that kindness has on the recipient. And if you remember or you watched the first episode, you'll also remember that I shared a story of how the goodness that I received from people during a very tough time in my life, how that impacted me positively. And then we also had the honor of having a founder of a non-profit organization who shared a story of how the organization started. And that was really an inspiring story because we got to also learn about the values and the mission that they have, for the organization and what really drives them to continue doing the work that they are doing for the community. And we also spoke on the previous episode about how to use our words wisely, because words have power. So on today's episode, I really just want us to explore the topic of balancing your good heart with wellness, because most times when someone is regarded as having a good heart, or yes, a good heart, it's usually seen by the things that you do for other people, the people that are close to you. It's usually seen in the things or the things that you say to the people that are around you, or the people that you get to engage with daily. And then that's how we see, that, we can actually say a person has a good heart. So I believe that as much as you are giving all that kindness and goodness to other people, you also have to give it back to yourself. So the topic, balancing your good heart with wellness. So we are going to speak about the wellness part of it. We know that having a good heart is the right thing, right? But sometimes you become exhausted. Like, you really do become exhausted, and you end up not being as eager. A time comes, when your emotional cup also gets depleted, and you need to refill it again so that you can continue to enjoy being the good person that you are with a good heart. You actually need to consider refilling your cup. And there are actually many ways in which you can refill your emotional cup. But today we are just going to speak about one aspect of filling your emotional cup, although there are many ways. So it is of utmost importance that you also pour back into yourself as much as you are pouring into everyone else, because if you do not pour back to yourself, you are actually going to end up bleeding. And sometimes you bleed on people that did nothing wrong to you. So I believe that, and if that happens, like you refill your emotional cup, or you don't fill your cup, but you keep filling other people's cup, and you actually end up bleeding. So what happens is that continues a cycle of emotional damage. So the reason I'd like to think that or believe that the reason that our current generation or the society, maybe we are experiencing such high levels of people suffering from depression, and anxiety. There could be other reasons as to why, there are plenty of those reasons. But one of the things that I believe is that sometimes we tend to fill other people's cup way too much than we do fill our cup, So you end up like actually bleeding from the inside, or you actually end up having a damage from the inside because you've been filling out you've been filling up everyone's cup. You've been filling and looking out, caring, giving, to your family, to your friends, to your partner, to the society, without actually making time, without actually having the time to also fill your cup. So that actually ends up leading you to those feelings of anxiety, or any other mental health issues. So it is of utmost importance that we also look out for our mental health. I believe that mental health, it is an essential part of living out kindness, So if you are to live in kindness, or you are to extend kindness and goodness to others, you should know that mental health, it is an important part of you being able to do that, because if you neglect your mental health, if you neglect your wellness, you might end up not being able to actually extend kindness. You might actually end up not being able to continue to extend goodness because you neglected your mental health, So today, I just want us to look into therapy as a way in which you can actually fill your cup, I believe that for me, actually, therapy is a safe space to vent, It is a safe space to vent because when you are going for your therapy session, the person that you are going to consult with, it is a professional, either a psychologist or a therapist. Those people, they are professionals and they understand the term confidentiality, So for me, it is a safe space because I know that, I can go for my therapy session to vent about my personal issues, and there's never a day where I am going to be worried about that person, sharing what I told them with another person, because they are professional and they understand the word confidentiality, So for other people, they really have those people that they can vent to, and they know that whatever that they have shared with that particular person stays with them. So if you have that person in your life, then that's really a good thing, that's really a good thing. But sometimes you can have that person, like myself. I do have those people, that I feel I can vent to without worrying if they're gonna share my issues with another person. But most times I prefer therapy, just to hear from a professional point of view, about whatever that I am experiencing at that time. So for me, therapy, it is a safe space, and I'm sure anyone who is watching right now can agree with me that after you have spoken about whatever that is bothering you, to a trusted person, after you have spoken to them about that issue, there's something in you that feels like you have offloaded, there's a weight in you that sort of like it goes off your shoulders, So it means are you actually talking out about whatever that you are going through, or about whatever that you are experiencing? It actually helps you offload the burden of whatever that you will be going through, So I just want to reflect back on my experience with therapy, and also just to share things that I've learned in therapy. Maybe that might also encourage another person if they've been doubting about consulting with a professional about the issues in their lives. Maybe this will actually encourage that person to go. So I'm just really going to share my own experience about therapy and the things that I have learned in therapy. So, if you have been with me like since the start of this channel, you would know that on episode 1, I was actually sharing about how the loss of my grandmother actually affected me, and how I had people that were carrying me during that difficult period. But you would also know I mentioned that for the first time, that's when I felt the need to go for counseling. So during that time, I think there was a lot of things that were happening. Obviously, the loss of my grandmother, like I already mentioned. But one of the things that were happening, I think I was also overwhelmed, because during that time, I was participating in a beauty contest competition. So when you participate in a beauty contest competition, it's not only about walking in heels during showtime and all of that. There's actually a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So one of the things that goes on behind the scenes is that you have to engage in community projects, and you also have to come up with ways on how to campaign for people to vote for you. If people have to vote for you to win, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. I think one particular one, or one major one, is that one of actually having to do some community projects, or actually give back to the community. And that actually takes time, that actually takes time from you. So I had to do that. That was, I think it was during the loss of my grandmother. It's also a time when I was just like preparing for the beauty contest finals. And during the same time, one thing that I never mentioned when I first shared the story, is that my dad was also hospitalized at that time. So yeah, I was really overwhelmed because there was just a lot happening. So because I was a student at that time at school, we were always encouraged to go to this other department at UJ. They call it psychat. So psychat is basically a department whereby, as a student or as a staff, if you feel that you are overwhelmed by your schoolwork, or you need some guidance with your career choice, or with your school, how to navigate your schoolwork, some study tips, or if you're going through something personally and you just need somebody to talk to. So we were always encouraged to go to psychat. So after the burial of my grandmother, I obviously had to go back to school at rest. Obviously, schoolwork, it means, was waiting for me. And also, what was waiting for me was those obligations from the pageant or the beauty contest. So I was feeling overwhelmed, and my dad was still at the hospital even that time. So I was like, let me go to psychat, and ask to book a consultation so that I can talk to someone, because everything that is happening, it's just a lot on me. So that's what I did. I booked a session. So then I went for my session. So what I learned, one of the beautiful things about going to therapy is that all your emotions, like, you bring them out without filter. Like, you say exactly like how things are happening. Sometimes when you share something with a friend or with anyone, you kind of limit yourself, because you kind of limit yourself, like, you kind of watch out the things that you say sometimes. But the beauty about seeing a psychologist or a therapist is that you don't need to hide anything. Like, you don't need to filter anything. Like, you just come as you are. You bring the emotions, the situations, obviously with some professional boundaries, but you bring those emotions as raw as they are, because at the end of the day you are trusting this person to help you navigate the situation. So I went for my therapy session. That was the very first time that I went for therapy in 2019. And then what I learned during that time is that it is unfortunate that you cannot control what people do. You cannot control people's actions. You cannot control people's behaviors. But what you can control is your reaction towards their actions. So that was the major thing that I learned. That was the major thing that I took with me. You cannot control people's actions towards you. You cannot control people's actions towards things. But what you can control is actually your reaction. So it means that you always need to understand that instead of getting frustrated, because oftentimes we do get frustrated at the person that is acting out the way they are, but instead of actually getting frustrated at that, you can actually say, you know what, I'm going to find a way that will actually calm me down. I'm not going to react to this because sometimes when you react, you end up doing things that are self-sabotaging. So to avoid self-sabotaging yourself, just be mindful of how you react. Just always bear in mind that I cannot control the actions of this person, but I can control how I react to that. And I feel if you can approach things with that kind of attitude, with that kind of mentality, you will actually stop self-sabotaging yourself, because sometimes you might do things and say, no, it's because this person did this to me. And in the long run, those things that you end up doing, they are not good for your health. They are not good for your well-being, So just always try to approach things in that fashion. That's what I adopted ever since my first therapy session in 2019. So the second time, I also had to go for, not the second time per se, but a time where I felt that I needed some counseling was 2023. Shoo, if there is a year that shook me, that year is 2023. Ha. Okay, so right in the beginning, in January, on the 12th of January 2023, I lost my very first car. They stole my car, and mind you, that car, I only had it for like 1 month. So the car was bought end of November, and then December was obviously driving the car, and then January the car was gone. Just like that. I'm laughing now, but it was not funny, But also when it happened, like I was still trying to process that is this really happening, Like I was still like, no, maybe I was in denial, if I can say. So as time went by, from that experience, obviously it's painful. It's not a nice thing, because what happened is after the car was gone, I was obviously left with a debit order that continued every month, whether the car is there or it's not. But I obviously had to pay my financial obligations to the bank. So, sorry. So during that time after this incident happened, like I'm saying, it has, it's a situation that has, ne? But for some reason, I took it like very lightly. I didn't really allow my heart, to dwell in the sorrow, if I may say. I didn't really allow my heart to dwell in the sorrow because I understood that the car is gone. you know. The only thing that I can do now is to try ways, obviously, to recover it, which is like reporting to the police station, having a case opened. I think one of the things that I also tried to do was try to get a private investigator, you know, to look into the case, to look into this matter, you know. So I reached a point where I said, you know, I've done everything that I'm supposed to do. And I felt like if I am to cry or if I am to dwell in the sorrow, that will not really change the situation. So, what gave me peace was the fact that I did everything that I could do, you know, I did everything that I could do. So, I remember one day I was just sharing with someone, telling them, you know, I feel like with this incident, God is actually trying to teach me something, you know. He is actually trying to teach me something because when I look back, remember, I only had this car like for 1 month. So when I look back during like that 1 month, I'm now starting to evaluate my behaviors, sort of like self introspection. So I'm like, when I look at that, I felt like it was a way of God actually protecting me. You know, it was a way of God actually protect me, number one, and a way of God actually teaching me something. You know, I felt, Tori, I got it at a time when I had still not learned some things. So the car being taken away or being stolen was actually a way in which God was giving me the space to actually learn, you know, some of the things. So I was actually grateful. I think after that, I've just been able to like, okay, deal with the matter like with peace. Like I was very okay, you know, deal it with peace. And then I'm still trying to explain the year 2023. Remember, I think I first mentioned the first time I had to go to therapy, which was 2019, and now again in 2023. So this incident, it happened January, the incident of the car. It happened January. And then April. For the first time in my life, I was bitten by a dog. Ngalunga yinja. Like, imagine, yo. Ngalunga yinja, and then obviously I was rushed to the hospital because I was with someone when this happened, so they rushed me to the hospital, and then I was hospitalized. You know, they did the operation, trying to take out whatever, like do the operation where the dog has bitten me. And then luckily the dog had no rabies. So after 3 days from the procedure, I was discharged from the hospital, and I just went back, obviously, after that, just for them to do checkup and monitor the wound. But eventually I was okay. Hey, when I say 2023 was a lot, so this is April. And then I feel there were some other things, you know, that I feel I can't share as yet, you know, that happened, and they were really like putting me down, like really putting me down, really taking a toll on me. Because I remember beginning of July, I wrote a status on my WhatsApp. I was saying, yo, Lord, can the last 6 months of the year be kind to all of us? You know, I wrote a status like that because I felt I would say, shoo, the first 6 months, they Shugile. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but yeah, the first 6 months were like very hectic for me. So I wrote that status on my WhatsApp that Lord, can the last 6 months of the year, you know, be kind to all of us, you know. And then I think also during that year, what was also happening was that it was a year when I was also trying to understand the dynamics of the workplace, you know, just trying to understand, you know. And a point came whereby I felt that everything that has been happening during that year was a lot on me, like was a lot on me. I felt I needed to have like a profession. I needed to seek professional help, because everything was just too much, and I felt like if I don't like take action on this, I'm going to explode. Like I'm going to explode. So I was like, during that time, I was very fortunate that I was able to have access to like the services of a psychologist, So I did that. So basically, what I did, I consulted with a general practitioner, and then I told them my situation and how things have been happening and how my body has also been reacting to that. I then asked them to refer me to the nearest professional person that I can talk to, like a therapist, a psychologist, a counselor, and then they did a recommendation for me, and then I obviously went there where they recommended, and that's the second time I felt that I needed to consult, for therapy. So, and I went, and it was okay, it was good. So what I learned during that time of my therapy is the importance of breathing exercises. I think I'm just really try to do it now as I am speaking now. Like just try to like breathe in like, and then breathe out. You know? Try to do what I just did and just try to see and feel how your body feels after that. Like it feels like yo, ngaze ngaphefumula, like ngaze ngabreathe. It feels like shoo, ngaze ngaphumula, like So what I learned during the second time in 2023 during my therapy sessions was the importance of breathing exercises. So whenever you feel like your emotions are up there, whenever you feel like everything is just going on south instead of north, to calm yourself down or to bring yourself back to yourself, you can try some breathing exercises and see how that changes the whole thing, because it's like after that exercise, suddenly your mind has some clarity. After that, it's like suddenly your heart is no longer racing at the rapid rate like that, like your body is just like very calm and your nervous system is like really at a good place. So I learned about the importance of breathing exercises in therapy. And then another thing, the third thing that I also learned in therapy is the importance of meditation and how meditation also helps, in actually calming down your nervous system, like in actually calming you down, the importance of meditation, because during that time when I was consulting with the psychologist, she suggested that she actually sent me a sound, I think the sound from YouTube, and that sound, it was actually a meditation sound. So she said to me, every day in the morning, just try to listen to this sound, and that will help you in like getting clarity, in having like a slow morning, before you could start with all the other things for the day. Just try to have like that quiet time where everything is just slow. And honestly, it did a really good job. Like it really had a great impact on me, having to listen to that meditation sound, because as you listen to it, it's like your mind slowly it becomes like calm, you are in this calm and peaceful state, so those are one of the things that I've learned in therapy, like the importance of meditation and what it can do for you. And then another time where I've also had to go like for therapy, it was just recently. So recently when I went for therapy, I was not going because something was really bothering me, or something like was like going hectic on my side. I went because I just wanted to check in with myself, oftentimes, like I feel like a therapy, I'm sure somebody will agree with me, but I just feel like therapy is not only for the times when there is a crisis, Sometimes, just to check in with yourself, like you are really in a good space, but you just want to check in with yourself. And because one thing about therapy, one of the things that it also does is that it teaches you about yourself, it teaches you about people's behavior, because when you go for therapy, obviously you'll be talking about your issues, about your day to day, what has been happening, and when was the time you were not feeling well, or when was the time you were like most happy, like what happened, just to try to understand yourself even better. So that those are some of the things that therapy helps with. It allows you to understand yourself even better, So yeah, like recently, like I'm saying, I wasn't really going because there was an issue or anything. It was just to check up with myself. So on this recent session, what I learned is that it's important to create boundaries with people and actually communicate those boundaries, because if you do not create those boundaries and you do not communicate your boundaries, that actually gives people the allowance, to keep stepping on you, so one of the ways that is like one powerful thing that I learned like recently, that you gotta have, as a person, you gotta have boundaries, stick to your boundaries, and actually communicate your boundaries, But I just want to add on that, creating boundaries and actually communicating those boundaries isn't a way for you. It is not a way for you, to be aggressive with people. It is not a way for you to be disrespectful with people. It is not a way for you, to be insulting and rude with people. But it's just a way in which you make people aware of the things that you will accept, and the things that you will not accept. So you can do that like in a very respectful and gentle and cordial manner, without being aggressive or any other of those things, So yeah, so those are the four things that I have learned in therapy. So remember, the first one, we said that it was for you to always know that it is unfortunate that you can't control people's actions, but you can control how you react. And the second one is that the importance of breathing exercises, because those breathing exercises actually have a way of calming you down and giving you clarity. And the third one was that the importance of meditation, having that quiet time, before you could start with anything that you gotta do, just to regulate your nervous system. And the fourth one is developing boundaries and actually communicating your boundaries. So yeah, through my journey or my experience with therapy, those are the things that I have learned, you know. So I really hope, if you are somebody, who has been feeling a little under the weather lately, who has been feeling overwhelmed, or any of those feelings that we do not want, if you are that person, I would just like to encourage you to actually consider, this way of taking care of your wellness, this way of actually pouring into yourself through therapy, and also, so I understand that, and I also know that, it's not all of us, who have the opportunity, or who have access to those private services, but there are also free services that you can get, the same services of therapy, the same services of a psychologist that you can get if you can access the private. I've recently learned also that there is a South African depression and anxiety group, and it has a 24-hour toll-free helpline. So meaning that you can call any time of the day, just to if you're having issues, about yeah, if you're having issues that relate to your mental health and you feel that you need some guidance or assistance, so the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, it has a 24-hour toll-free helpline. It has some online support groups, and they also have campaigns, they have workshops, about issues that relate to mental health, so there's, you can always call them, you can always find their number obviously on the internet, and just to find also the information that it provides, because what it does, it provides information and it supports also. And one of the things that it also does, is to provide resources for people that feel they are needing some professional help, with mental health issues, and they're also doing campaigns just to normalize like those issues, and not and remove the stigma around it, because oftentimes in our society, we tend to stigmatize people that seek like professional help about mental issues. They tend to be this stigma. So one of the things that this organization does is that it also aims to remove that stigma, honestly, because mental health is just like physical health. You gotta look out for your physical health, and you also gotta look out for your mental health. So yeah, you can just search on your search engine the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, and that's where you can actually get all the information and guidance, about where to access such services. And yeah, so basically for today's episode, that's what I really wanted to talk about. Therapy is a way of actually pouring into your cup and refilling your cup. And if you do not consider refilling your cup anytime you feel exhausted, you end up bleeding. Sometimes you bleed on the people that never did anything to you. So it is of utmost importance that you consider taking care of your mental health, and also just to refill your cup, because honestly, one of the things that because on what I just spoke about, it's really one of the things that really helps me, to stay on the course of being a good person. Once I have consulted, once I have went for my therapy session, I really feel like, oh, okay, maybe I'm at this state that I'm in because I've actually allowed, I have self-sabotaged myself. So after therapy, after they have made you to identify that you were self-sabotaging, you go back and you become a better person. Or if maybe it was as a result of another party that you were in a state that you are in, it actually helps you, to go back to your normal self again and actually be yourself. So thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and remember to subscribe, you pay zero, like zero. There is no time whereby you will now be required to make some monthly payment or some weekly payment or some daily payment. You just click on subscribe and you have subscribed, just like that. And I also just want to put it out there that it's okay. You are welcome also to tell the people that are close to you, your family, your friends, to also do the same, to subscribe. And just also remember to like this video and also leave some love on the comment section. And let's continue to engage, encourage one another, learn from one another, and also inspire one another. See you guys on the next episode.